am a massive consumer of all of the new AI technologies. I am dogmatic about their use. I think incredibly powerful. I use ChatGPT for my daughter makes fun of me like you're the brand ambassador for OpenAI. I'm like, no, the reality is this is actually short of sounding hyperbolic. This is literally a new computing paradigm. And I don't think people really appreciate that. So I'll give you a perfect example. Every now and then I have the good fortune of people reaching out to me. They're entrepreneurs or they're investors, but particularly entrepreneurs like, hey, Sheldon, I'm thinking about starting out this company, or I'm looking to scale, and I wanted to know if I could just run a couple of ideas by you. I said, happy to do that, but I also want you to know this may be the last time that you actually feel a need to talk to me because I'm going to tell you about something that's far smarter than me, that actually is far more resourceful. It could actually be much more functional than me. It's in your pocket right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you've got ChatGPT or Gemini, one of those things. Like, yeah, okay, okay. Um, the questions you're going to ask me. I don't think people know how to use this thing properly. They're using it to basically like Google to verify facts. I have done things like the way that I use it. For example, let's say there's a new topic out there, like MCP is a really, is a big protocol out there about how agents are now leveraging connecting to tools, right? A lot of talk about NCP, or take any topic that you want out there in the world. Everyone's talking about, asymmetric tariffs. So whatever it is, or the yield curve. Take any topic that you want, take all the articles. So if there are a bunch of white papers, I'll take all the white papers, Lori. I'll upload all of those papers into Chat GPT. I will then say, okay, taking all these papers, look at my nonprofit, look at the URL, based on what you know about my nonprofit, based on what you know about these technologies, or based on this, tell me what I should do. Tell me about the new programs I should be thinking about in Sumatra. I'm being random on purpose, but I'm saying you could do anything and said, tell me about the advisors I should think about getting. Do a 3 or 5 year P&L forecast for me. Give me the cash flow, give me the balance sheet, come up with a deck. I use it as a thought partner. It actually is my number one business strategist, my board member, my CTO, my CRO, my CMO. Literally, it has saved me years of work and, no exaggeration, hundreds and thousands of dollars of legal costs, marketing costs, technical costs, all sorts of things. And if you're not doing that, you will be left behind unequivocally. The latest thing that I just saw yesterday is the next generation of this, which we'll get to. Like, you've got the AI models and you've got the agents, but now the next version of the agents are using this thing to actually come up with entirely new ideas. And there's a way in which, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but people don't realize, I have literally been able to come up with new models and systems that were done in collaborating with ChatGPT. It has suggested ideas I've never thought about, and I said, you should actually try this system and try this module. And I was like, wait, could you please explain that to me again? Let's go back to that. And it will go through that and go, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And how to do this? And it'll tell me all the different things. And now, so my point here is that, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But instead of starting out on first base, I'm already on third base and I'm just rounding out to home. And so this step, like, it is an massive force multiplier in that regard. Now, what this means in terms of the number of people now that you actually need on your team and the expertise we'll get into changes. But anyone on this call, if you're thinking about merging with someone, if I give you a perfect example, I had a friend, by the way, who said, Shell, I've got this new boss. I'm not really sure, but I really want her to know the things I can do. I think I may be up for promotion. What do you think? Um, I said, what about this? She goes, you can tell me something about ChatGPT. I'm like, hold on. Yeah, okay. What's this person's name? She told me the name. Okay, let's take her LinkedIn profile. Let's take your LinkedIn profile, and let's have it come up with a negotiation script for you for your promotion. And she was blown away. Right? Those sort of use cases. Now, that's us retail using the ChatGPT. What those systems have are actual APIs right? For those of you on the call who may not be too technical, API stands for Application Programming Interface. You want to think of it, it's a fancy way of saying a connection. I give it my inputs, and it gives me discrete outputs. The ATM, by the way, is an API into our bank account, right? We don't have to go. The teller used to be the manual API. Now we have a digital API, which is the ATM machine, right? So the whole world is based on APIs, people connecting, right? And so ChatGPT has an API, so corporations can now connect to it. That means that now companies, so if you are a hospital and you actually need to create a better image detection algorithm or system to determine whether it's a malignant versus benign tumor, you could take those images and upload them into the API for ChatGPT. It'll do the scanning and feed you the results back. So this is where we're going now with people. And so, but if your company, you're saying, should I be kind of, that's what are the HIPAA compliance considerations of doing that? Or if you're a financial trading company, do I want them to see? So now people actually now bringing in those models internally on their own computing infrastructure, which is one of the reasons why Llama came about, because companies are saying, I don't necessarily want to, I'm concerned about information leakage out to these systems. So I could actually build local models on my local infrastructure, and they have these open source models. So whether it's as an individual, the computing paradigm, or as corporations, and now we're seeing this whole rise of these agents that could do autonomous activity. But I'll hold off until you ask me any questions around it.
For those in our audience that might want greater kind of explication around a specific term or especially technical terms that Sheldon may use, just put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A, and
I'm happy to answer them. So.
And do that. You mentioned, Sheldon, agent, the agent, and I hear that a lot these days in relation to emerging Gen AI systems. What is an agent? Give us a lay description of an agent here.
Yeah. I'll give you the short answer. I'll give you the somewhat medium answer, which is really apropos because my mother, she asked me, my mom was always trying to understand what it is I'm doing. Shell, what exactly do you do for a living? I can give her examples of things. So an agent is not unlike a human agent, is someone who's working on your behalf. You have a real estate agent. The agent's doing things on your behalf. They're discrete things. And by the way, as I name these things that human beings are doing, using the human substrate, you could actually imagine that you could then effectively automate those things. So I could have a stockbroker, they're brokering on my behalf. You have agents, right? So that's a sort of basic understanding of this. Let's get a little bit more practical. When my mom about 2 years ago was saying, Shell, honey, what's all this AI stuff? I said, Mom, you know that cruise that you want me and my sister to sort of organize around your 70th birthday that we're begrudgingly have to do? She goes, yeah, I know. I was like, okay. So imagine this, Mom. You're asking us to figure out the itinerary. I'm like, watch this. I want you to type in here the days that you want, how many people you want, the islands that you want to hit, the kind of cuisine you want us to have, and the budget per day for everyone. Just put that in. And it'll tell you island by island what our itinerary should be. She's from the Caribbean, so she knows some of the islands. She was blown away. She saw local restaurants that are kind of off the beaten path that I actually knew, and she's blown away. I go, Mom, if you think this is impressive, let me tell you about the next generation. You see how I give us the entire itinerary, the different hotels and the restaurants and the bars and the museums. They say, yeah, this is amazing. I'm like, okay, the next generation is you're going to be able to push a button that says book it now. She's like, what do you mean book it now? I'm like, it will reserve all those restaurants for us. Like, what? I'm like, yeah. Imagine this thing can now connect into the open table. It can now book the Uber in advance, reserve to then connect to take us up from the hotel, to then bring us. She goes, what? I'm like, yeah. So that's an easy way of explaining, understanding what an agent does, is that an agent can now execute certain activities that are based on the goals that you directed towards. So in that case, you could actually have one agent or different agents. I could have an agent that's booking restaurants. I could have an agent, so that let's say an agent is booking restaurants. What would it do? It has different steps. First thing, it sees the restaurants. It will then connect to whether they have Open Table or some other app, or go directly to the website. And if it doesn't have an app to reserve, it'll kick back and tell you, I couldn't find it. You may have to call directly. But of the 7 restaurants, 6 of them I could book through Open Table. I then have access to your calendar, so I know when you're going to be there, and I will then go reserve the table. But I need to know how many people are in your party every day, and I also need to know the culinary things to see if they're. So I could actually then have a separate agent that's checking to see the allergy profile of people and the cuisine profile that they actually want, that talks to the restaurant booking agent to then do that, right? I could have a separate agent that's actually done booking the cars. You get the point. And the question is, well, how are they doing that? They have to have my financial agent that's giving out my credit card information, or if I'm sharing it across my 3 kids and they're paying it, it has their credit card information. And there's this whole orchestration around that. Now, the important thing to understand, because these terms get thrown around a lot, there's manual work. A lot of things we've been seeing first generation around tech is automation. Like automating something is not making, it's the same as making it autonomous. So there's manual, there's automation, and there's making something autonomous. Your alarm clock is automatic. It's set on a trigger. At this time, there's no intelligence there. It's just a trigger. The condition of time, and it does this something, makes a big sound, right? Autonomy, systems autonomous, the idea is that it's starting to actually do thinking on its own. I can actually have this thing running in the background until it actually achieves the goal, is then when it reports back to me and tells me that we've been able to succeed, that we booked 6 of the 7 places, everything's lined up, by the way, and so forth. So these things start to talk to each other and they start to make decisions. So there's a whole sort of reasoning layer that then comes in. Now, these agents, by the way, sit on top of these large language models. So the question is, what is allowing this particular agent around my scheduling to know how to book, how to set these things up, and know the cuisine that my mother wants, then say she really loves Cajun food. How do I know this restaurant's Cajun? By scanning the images, for example. It could connect to GPT or to Gemini or to Llama as it's to gather all the data. So these agents have to sit on top of these large language models, and they have to be able to connect to tools. Am I connecting to Open Table? Am I connecting to a calendar? Am I connecting to a bank account? So I have the foundational AI engine model. I then have to have a reasoning layer and a lot of different memory layers as well, the different types of episodic memory, different types of memory, and so forth. And then I have to connect to a tool, and then I have to start making a decision, and I have to talk to the other agents to do so.